understand not only are there stigmas associated with getting married while you're pregnant.
I wish it could have been more joyous. In terms of, right? Because I think there was a lot of stress at that time.
It was more you reassuring me than you wanting that for yourself?
Of course that's what I wanted.
Well, as I know,
of course it's what I wanted.
It's not.
But
what?
I wanted to reassure you as well.
Hey fam, Sarah here. And Aaron. Welcome back to our channel. If you missed our videos as of late, we've been trying to do like a little bit of basically like a recap, sharing our story. And so if you missed our how we met story, we've already put that out. And I think we're actually gonna be having a playlist to make this kind of easier to find. So in that first video, we kind of skipped over us getting married in the midst of it. I would say it was kind of an accident, but at the same time I was thinking it's kind of by choice.
Okay, I misinterpreted.
I was gonna say it's kind of by choice because like I just felt like that video kind of required a little bit of talking about on its own. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna be touching base on getting married like at a really young age. Is it a really young age?
Yeah, it's a really young age. I mean, wow. I mean, it was.
You said it with a lot of regret, right?
I did not. I know. I'm just saying, like, emphatically. But we were young.
Getting married at a really young age, and honestly, like, we're gonna share some of the pros and cons of that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar with our story, you definitely have to check out that video. But just quick little recap: we met and ended up having, we got pregnant and got married at the age of 19, which. Yes, it's very young because it's kind of weird now having a whole 19-year-old daughter ourselves, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, can you imagine if she was married?
Yeah, but at the same token, like maturity levels are so different. It's just a totally different frame in time. Like she's at things are just so different in their generation than it was even when I was 19. Just that too.
That's true.
You want to start off by telling us like when did we get married and why? Like. We found out I was pregnant.
Right.
And then what?
Well, and then we were thinking about how things were going to work because I was going to go to school and you were going to go to school, right? That was when we were leaving. We finished high school and we were going to go to post-secondary, to university, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't know how that was going to work because I would be commuting half an hour, 40 minutes to school. And you wanted to go like an hour away.
I was gonna go an hour away until I found out that I was pregnant.
Right.
So how did I get to the part where I was engaged? How did we get to that point?
I think it was, we were worried about the future. I think you were worried about.
Wow.
You were worried that things weren't going to work out, and I was reassuring you that things were going to work out.
I was wondering where you were going with that because I'm like, oh my.
I was reassuring you that, and that's when I proposed.
And that was you. So it was more you reassuring me than you wanting that for yourself.
Of course, that's what I wanted.
Well, as I know,
of course, it's what I wanted.
It's not.
But
what?
I wanted to reassure you as well.
Oh, okay.
That was my thought.
Okay.
Right?
And looking back at that now, what do you think of that scenario? What would you change that, the way you did that?
I wish it could have been more joyous. In terms of, right? Because I think there was a lot of stress at that time.
Yeah,
I think that was probably one of the most stressful times of our life.
It really was.
It really was, yeah. You were really sick all the time as well.
Yes.
You were like, I've never seen you that sick for any
pregnancy.
For any pregnancy.
That was my first one, and that's when I was crazy. But we're not going to talk too much about it because this is not like the pregnancy recap. But yes, I was really, really sick.
And it was during that time.
Yeah. Long story short, I was pregnant and we knew we wanted to get married before our child was born, so we kind of had our wedding while I was pregnant. Oh my gosh. I was like, seriously. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What's wrong with that?
Do you understand not only are there stigmas associated with getting married while you're pregnant, that alone was just like kind of, it gives you the, I don't want to, you know, no offense to anyone out there, but there's a part of me that had to feel like, because I'm getting married while pregnant. And then on top of it, we were young, so it's not like we could afford a lot back then, and we did everything on our own. We did a lot on our own. We did get a lot of help from family in terms of like taking on all the doing the invite list for us, and taking on the cooking and the baking and stuff like that, and arranging like at the church. But in terms of like financially, we took care of that on our own, and that was hard. That also meant that the dress that I wanted or had to get was like within a budget, and it wasn't like, we're looking back at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, in the grand scheme of things of wedding dresses, my dress is like at the bottom of the barrel. It was not cute, and if I was to go back in time, I would not wear it, like ever. You would never wear it? I would not wear it. I was so quick to get rid of it when it was time, because it was like, oh my God.
So what was your thought process when you got the dress?
I mean, it was the cutest one back then for my situation.
Oh, okay.
Like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
But your situation is more unique.
Yeah, the situation was more unique, but the dress was just like a no-go. We got married in January, and then, so I was very pregnant, but 3 months later we had our child? February, March, April, yeah. 2 months? That's kind of like how we got to where we're at, and obviously we didn't have like a year of marriage, you know, to ourselves in any way. I mean, I don't know. I think everyone's situation is different. Some people want a year to themselves and whatever. Some people don't mind. They just jump right into having kids, right? It all depends on the person and I think the situation. Because when we got married, you were still doing school.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think it made sense on our end, like we're kids, you know, I was taking care of the children part, and you were going to school. It seemed like two big things, and yes, it can definitely pose challenges for sure. And depending on like the stress, how stress is being managed. What is it? What?
I'm just laughing at all the
sound effects,
all the environmental noises all the time.
Yeah, the washer just went off, and our fridge is doing this thing. But yeah, so we basically kind of had that thing going where he's going to school, and then I had, you know, I was at home, I was taking care of the kids, and it was just what we knew. And how was that for you?
It was a different time. It was fine. I thought it was challenging in its own regard, right? Because school, homework, classes, and then when you get home, right, you want to make time for your wife and your daughter, right? And it's not like, it wasn't an easy time.
Yeah.
Right? And you could always see the value of going to school in that situation, because we didn't have any money. And aside from school, I didn't know what I would do. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Like, if I don't go to school, things are gonna get that's the thing. We knew you were going to school. Yeah. Like, we got pregnant with our first, but in terms of even moving forward, we knew you were going to school when we went on to have other children. That's right. That wasn't like accident. It wasn't like that. So don't want to paint that picture. But. And you're a very independent person, and we were living at my in-laws. We only did that for 10 months. 10 months, yeah. The first 10 months after we got married. And I was really surprised initially that you wanted to move out. I had, in the background, I had already been taking care of like, doing my research to figure out where I could live. And this was before we even lived at my parents together, before we got married. We did, remember, we went apartment hunting, and we were doing all of those things. On our own. And then we were, oh my gosh, we've gone to some of these apartments that were so gross and so small and so expensive. So expensive.
I was, yeah, challenging times, might I say.
Oh my word. It was just so eye-opening and depressing. Like, it made you want to cry.
I think if anything, that's the kind of stuff that encourages one to want to do better. Like, yes. They say like, you could have, I would never tell anyone to go have a kid, to go have that be their motivation. But when you do have kids, they can definitely serve as your motivation, because not only do you strive to do well or better for them, in the process, you're also doing it for yourself, right? You're striving to do better for yourself. So we definitely had that as a drive and motivation in general. And for me, even getting pregnant young was like not even something that I thought would happen to me. But even as young as it happened, it was eye-opening for me and made me realize how much I wanted to give to my kids and how much I wanted to be there for them. Like, so that was definitely like a game changer. I think for me, I wanted to be a nurse initially. And then when I had my child, that was when I realized, oh my gosh, like going to school and going to work and trying to figure out where my kids would go during those hours and those times. I think those for me were very, very challenging thoughts to process, especially with various things that I've dealt with in my life. So yeah, we could actually have a further discussion on maybe a topic on these types of stuff down the road. But yeah, to say marrying young and with kids young was challenging.
It is. I mean, it's right. It is challenging, and I like living at your in-laws.
So
at my in-laws.
So back that up. So you thought so you really questioned why I wanted to
initially, because we got some delicious dinner all the time, and it was a short walk to school.
It's so different for you. It's interesting. Things are so different for us.
For me, right? It was different for me because I was only there for like a portion of the day.
Yeah.
And that portion was a good experience.
My experience overall at my parents wasn't like a bad experience, but this is why it's so interesting for me, because you go to school, you bust your butt to go to school, but in terms of like the other end of things, like you don't pay attention to the other parts of stuff. Whereas for me, regardless of, even if things were like perfect or things are going great, for me, I'm a thinker. Like I spend time thinking about the situation and think about others. Like I know obviously we were there, and when we were living there, we were paying minimal rent just to contribute because we did live there. But even with groceries, I contributed with groceries. We did stuff like that. Like it wasn't just like eating delicious meals and just eat. Like my thought process doesn't go like that, because if it was in reverse and I lived at your parents' house, I would be like that just the same. I'd be like, I would feel a certain way because I think about other people quite a bit, and I would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
know what you mean.
Yeah, I would spend time thinking about that, and it's like I don't want to inconvenience them, and if I don't want to inconvenience them, I want to compensate them, and either way, like, it just...
I get it.
I was pretty independent, right? I was doing all the things that we did on our own. We spent our own money, we bought our own things, we clothed our own child. Everything that I bought for my firstborn, like we bought for everything. We bought her everything and took care of everything on our own, because I worked full time while I was pregnant.
That's right.
All the way up until, what was it? A week before she was born? Week and a half that I stopped working right before she was born.
I think so, you're right.
So like, I was busting my butt off to make sure that I could get enough money through like employment insurance and stuff like that.
That's right.
So I had to, like, I was like, my child wasn't even born yet, but I was thinking about all the things that I wanted to be able to offer her, and that was making certain moves was a part of it. And so I'd already been looking at like geared to income housing and stuff like that. I know they had pros and cons. I knew it wouldn't be a place that I want to stay forever, even before I got there, and knowing, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I looked into it and I applied for it, and when our name got called up on a list, I was so excited, because I was excited to be in a new environment of our own. As much as we had, the help that we had in a different direction, I was looking forward to kind of starting a page of our own, and in our own place,
right,
as a married couple that are also parents. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
It was a stepping stone, and I'm glad we did, because if that didn't happen, I think there would be probably an extra level of complacency that would still be there. That's just not my mindset. I don't like to. Does that make sense to you?
It does, in a sense. Yep. I mean,
yeah.
You know, because I guess, you know, I was coming from a totally different background, in the sense that I barely did anything for myself. You know, up until that point, like, I was just starting to learn how to do laundry when I went to live with you.
Yes.
So, yeah, I was coming from a totally different experience.
And that leads us into one of the things that we were talking about, pros and cons. And that then I guess we'll start with the cons and maybe end with the pros, because that would be one of the cons. The cons of marrying young, when you don't. It all depends, right? Each of you may have, there are different things that you're still all trying to figure out, but some of us are more independent than others, and that definitely can pose huge challenges in your relationship, because expectations are there, but then they're not being met. You know?
Expectations are there, but they're not being met.
But you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, like, in, I
you're
guess, the small things, right?
Well, yeah, because you're young, and if you didn't, just like that, like things like that, teaching you how to do certain things, and whether or not you may learn how to do them. Do you want to do them? Are you in a routine to do them? Do you continually do them? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it in your thought process to do them, or do you wait for your wife to come tell you to do them? And it might be vice versa, but in terms of you, in our case, he knew me. I was like very independent. I've always had jobs. I've always took care of myself. I've always spent my own money and bought my own things. That's just been me. Yeah. So I've been super independent, and those are challenges that I would definitely say that we faced in terms of, you know, marital cons.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Getting to, you know, at that age, I guess the maturity level of having to adapt to that, right? Mm-hmm. It takes effort. That is, you know, is required of both parties. Patience for some.
Yes.
Yes. You know, participate for the others, right?
Yep.
So, I think that's a con for sure, right? It can lead to a strength.
Yes, exactly.
It can lead to a strength.
It can lead to a strength, but it takes a lot of work. And even couples that are on the same page are going to have these types of struggles. But if you're still both trying to figure it out when you're that young, trying to figure your own self out, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? For me as a mom, when you're going through things yourself, through the motion, I'm carrying the baby and doing all those things, and from your perspective, you're just kind of like, you're just a guy just going with the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're just
like,
thinking
back to myself.
Yeah, you're just like you're just going with the motion, but you don't really have
shaking my head.
You don't have a clue really what's going on half the darn time. Like you're just trying to go through the motions, in a sense.
Trying to survive.
Seriously, you're just thinking like casually and having also tunnel vision, focusing on your career. That's another struggle that we had. It's like the focus on your career, which is great. That's what it needed to kind of happen for you to be successful. But at the same token, it meant it took away from our marriage, and it took away from the children. So that definitely led to like challenges and definite struggles.
I think it's also like, you know, after you work so hard through the school year, and then you want to take a little break to yourself. Then you're home, and you had a wife and a daughter at home, and your wife is not getting a break any day. Any day. And then you're thinking, I want to take a break. I deserve this break.
And you took them a lot. Let's not forget that. You took them a lot. We would butt heads about that when you took them, because you played video games and you would play them for like 10 hours straight and then go and barely get sleep for school the next day. I don't even understand that, but that was a struggle for us at the same time. I get it. I understand like the struggles of taking like me time or trying to find me time. And that's, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
I think that's a totally different thing, because I've seen it too with couples who are older now. Like, to them, a lot of them will just devote their entire world to their kids. It's all about their kids. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
I think it's totally different when you're 20, especially for boys and girls. I read something recently that said, guys, apparently the average man doesn't fully mature until they're 43.
Wow.
And for girls, it's not until they're 32.
Wow.
That's crazy. So, like, yeah, there were a lot of struggles, I would say, and lots of cons as to why I wouldn't recommend getting married young. You know, if you don't, I'm not saying young, but I'm saying like as young as we did. We're here now to tell you guys that, but at the same token, it's very challenging. And we did marriage counseling before we got married, and it's not like that's just it. It just gets rid of everything, you know. So.
Oh no, that's right.
But mindset, growth, and all those things are so important. And depending on where each of your growth is, that can pose as different problems in your relationship for sure. Okay guys, so we realized, our little one is not happy right now, so we're gonna have to wrap this up, but we're gonna jump into the pros. What would you say is one of the pros of getting married young?
I think you're able to adapt to change easier when you're younger. I think when you're younger, you're more open-minded to accepting some things about your partner, right? And willing to adapt to that. I think when you're older, you're probably gonna be more keen in saying, "That's not for me," or "That's not gonna work," right? And leave it at that. You're not gonna say, "I can change," or "I think they can change."
Is that why you think people are more apprehensive or pickier when they're our age in terms of trying to find a partner?
I think so. I think they're saying that they have a very specific mindset, right, and what they're looking for, and it's narrower than when they were 20.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. Another good point, another good con that I've said, I think it went in conjunction to what you said, is kind of growing together.
You mean a pro?
Or another pro.
You said con, sorry. This one.
There's so many cons that stick out in my head. That's all I can.
Oh my gosh.
I can't stop thinking about the cons. Another pro that I was gonna say in conjunction to what you said is that, like, the ability to grow together when you're younger, is that a thing? Do you feel?
Oh yeah, that's really important. That's really important, right? You're developing a bond early on, right? But when you're older, it's gonna take time to build that bond, right? And you're gonna be pretty aware of the time it's gonna take. When you're 20, like, time still goes slower.
Yes,
way slower.
A lot slower.
Oh my gosh, way slower than in your 30s.
Yeah.
Way slower. Like your 30s, it just flies by.
And overall, what's your take on the whole marrying young? Pros, cons, on a whole, regret it, not so much? No,
of course I don't regret it.
What is your take?
I think it's better to get married younger.
On a whole?
On a whole. On a whole. I think so.
No regrets?
No regrets.
Say it.
So would you marry again if you had to
at a young age?
If you had to redo this?
At a young age?
At a young age.
At a young age, huh? Yeah, I mean, I think yes. I think I would. I know there are challenges. I think I would.
You would? Yeah? I
think I would.
Final answer, you would do it all over again.
I think I would marry young again. Like, I know, I mean, it's been 20 years, so there's, like, I understand how it all works now. But yeah, it's definitely challenging, for sure. If I could go back and to my old self, you know what, we'll save that for another day. There are things I would tell my old self, for sure.
Wow.
Oh,
all good things.
All good, all fantastic things.
All good things. Of course. Sorry guys. Our son, he loves the washing machine, in case you hear. Loves it.
Yes.
He's such a sweetheart. I love that.
Anyways, guys, I don't know if this video went as seamlessly as I hoped. I feel like it might have been a little all over the place, but it just gives you guys a little bit of a highlight as to, you know, I give you a little bit of an yeah.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching.
Anyways, guys, as you guys can see, life is a little chaotic in the background. It is a Sunday, and so we're trying our best to make this video for you guys as promised. They're not, I am kind of putting them out. I wanted to put them out once a week, but it may not be. I'm trying my best, and or I should say we're trying our best, and we will kind of create a little playlist so it'll make it easier for you guys to go through and watch our stories. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got to know us a little bit and seeing how marrying, just seeing our thoughts on marrying young since we did it, and just hearing our pros and cons. I don't know if we dove too much into our own personal stories, but at the same token, we're trying our best because our marriage is sacred and we have to do our best to also protect parts of our marriage without just being a dumping ground for the internet. But I figure we can also share at the same time. So I hope you guys found this video to be useful, helpful, just open your eyes a little bit, and cheers to us. We are at 19 and almost a half years of getting married, almost 20 years of being married. So we're still here and we're still going, and it is still we'll get to that part of where we can touch base on just like how we even get through, because it's still things that we have to, it's still a thing we have to work on all the time. Marriage is a full-time job. But yeah, don't forget to like today's video. Don't forget to share, comment down below, let me know what you thought on the video. Comment down below, let me know if you would get married young, and maybe share what age you did get married at, and if you are wanting to get married, what age do you actually want to get married at, you think? Let us know your thoughts on the video, and hope you guys enjoyed. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.